Hello students, welcome to class 10 economics lecture. So I am Regina and I'll be teaching you economics. Before we start off with the first chapter, let me just ask you that why do we need to learn economics, okay? So first of all, we need to learn economics because we will be aware of different opportunities the world has for us, and why in specific we should know economics about our economics of our country and of the other countries is because we will not only learn about the opportunities in our country but also about the opportunities that is internationally available to us, okay? First of all, we get to know about what is happening around the world. Second off, we come to know about the different income patterns that different countries follow and how the national development of each country takes place, how we calculate and everything. And because of this reason, because of different opportunity the economy gives us, we need to know at least the basic factors of what the economies has for us, okay? So that is why it is very important for us to learn about the economics, okay? So now, as the first chapter says, we are going to learn about the development. Now, what is development? Now, the process of developing or being developed, okay? So now, take for example you. Okay, you've been studying from the standard 1st to 10th, okay? So now each year you have developed, you have improved, you have brought in progress and skills to move on a level higher, okay? Then another standard and another standard. So that is how you have kept on developing, okay? Similarly, the country has to develop and is developing each time, okay? So the process by which a person or a country is developing is making a progress, that is called development, okay? So now development has many aspects. As I said, for you, development will be something else, and for a country, development will be something else. So the aspect of development, there are different aspects. Now for me, development will be something else. For you, development will mean something else. So it is absolutely fine as long as it is development. So that is why we say that development has many aspects. Now, the idea of development or progress has always been with us. Talking about the history, okay, in the past, if we wouldn't have developed from the past to where we are now, our country wouldn't have been where it is right now, okay. So, because of the developments that took place in the past, we are where we are right now. And if we keep on improving and if we keep on developing, we will surely move ahead and develop even more. So, in this chapter, our main purpose is to understand the idea of development, okay? So, we will learn about how we can develop in different aspects, and we will understand that why development is necessary as we move on to each of the topics that is given to us in this chapter. People have this different perspective on development, and there are ways by which we can arrive at a common indicator for development, okay? So as I said, development for you will be different and for me will be different, but there will be some common thing between us that will say that we are developing, okay? So that common factor is used to calculate how much we are developing. Okay, so economic development can be measured, and income is the most common method of measuring development. So as I said, in terms of economy, one thing that is very common and that can really help us to measure the development is the income of a person and the total income of a country. So that is why we are saying that economic development can be measured, and income is the most common factor, the most common method for measuring development. Now, however, the income method, though useful, has several weaknesses. Now, why is this so? Because now suppose we cannot calculate the income of a housewife, alright, because she's been working, she's been putting in so much of efforts to maintain the house, to run the house, still she is not getting an income. So that is why her income cannot be measured. So that is why we say that income, though is a very useful method for calculating the development of a country, but at the same time it has many weaknesses. It has several weaknesses. Hence, we need newer ways of looking at development using indicators of quality of life and environmental sustainability, okay. So that is why we need newer ways to which we can calculate the income and we are able to sustain the life and also to sustain the development of our country, so that we are able to calculate the economic development much better and with newer ways. And for that reason, we need to develop each time and need to find out more easier and more simpler way through which we can calculate the income and do the economic development. Okay, so we have aspirations or desires about what we would like to do and how we would like to live, okay. So if I ask you to write 5 things that you would want the way you live or you want your country to look like, we all will have different ideas about how our country should look like, okay. So we have ideas about what a country should look like. As I said, your idea, your 5 points about how your country should look like and my points about how the country should look like could be different, okay. So what are the essential things that we require? Can life be better for all? How should people live together? Can there be more equality? So development involves thinking about these questions and it answers all these questions, okay, and about the ways in which we can work towards achieving these goals, okay. So what is development? Development is basically the progress and it answers the question. It helps us to answer the questions about all these questions, that what are the essential things that we need to require, you know, how can we all live together peacefully, then can our lives be better and in how ways it can be better, and also how we can bring in more equality, okay. So for you, now you would be thinking that the way the country is running right now is absolutely fine, it's just perfect. For others, there will be something that people will want, ki this factor should be changed and this, you know, instead of this we can substitute it with this. So for everyone, the development of a country will be different. Now for me, suppose for me the development of a country is giving a plus point, but at the same time you would have a point that would debate it, that would be against it, okay. So for every one of us, the development is very different. Our aspirations, our desires, our perspective about development is different, okay. So development means answering questions, thinking about all these questions and finding solutions towards it, okay. So this is a very complex task and it is not that easier as we think, okay. So it involves lots of concentration. Now development, we are not only going to learn about development just in economics, but if you look at your history and your political science, okay, it is all connected, and through these other subjects also you will be learning about development. And remember, our past is always connected with us, okay. No matter what, we cannot forget our past, okay. So as in the history, how we have developed by now is also something that we have to consider, okay. So remember, the thing that the only thing that is very important to understand, that our past is connected with us and we have to see how from the past, how from the history we have developed and we have come to where we are right now, and also find newer ways to move ahead. Okay, so what we are going to learn in this chapter is that what development promises and different people, different goals, okay. So what development promises us, and we are also going to learn about different people and their different goals. As I already mentioned that for you, your aspirations and desires about the country would be different, and for me it will be different. For your partner, for your friend, it would be different. For me, it will be different, okay. So we are going to learn about that, and we are also going to learn how we can compare them. Then income and other goals, we are going to learn about income and other goals. Next, we are going to learn about national development, how the nation gets developed, and then how to compare different countries or different states, okay. So what factors are we considering while we want to compare the different states and different countries? Income and other criteria, public facilities, what facilities are provided to us, and lastly we will learn about sustainability of development, how we can sustain the development we have right now so that we can further put in efforts and improve and get in more development. Okay, so these are the points that we are going to learn in this chapter. Okay, so moving on to the first topic, that is what development promises different people, different goals. Okay, so development promises a real growth by enhancing total income and standard of living of a person. Okay, so what is development promising us? When we develop, it promises us a real growth which by enhancing the total income and the standard of living of a person. Okay, so development not only means the growth through income, but also the real growth through income and the standard of living of a person. Okay, so we will now understand that how development means to different people. Okay, so let us try to imagine what development or progress is likely to mean to different persons listed below. What are their aspirations? Okay, so we will see a table right now that how different people can have different aspirations. Okay, so now you can see that we have a table where shows the category of a person develop, and the other one is that the development goals or the aspirations. Okay, now for example, the goal for the person here is the landless rural laborers. Okay, now for him, what can be his goal, what can be his aspiration, what development would mean for him? Let us see. Now, for him, what he desires more is more days of work and better wages. Okay, local school is available to provide the quality of educations for their children. There is no social discrimination, and there too can become leaders in the village. So, what a local rural person, a landless rural laborer would want is that he would want, if they are putting in more days of work, they should be provided with more wages, and their children should be able to go to school, and there shouldn't be social discrimination. They should also have an opportunity to become the leaders of the village. So similarly, we have different categories given to us over here, different category of persons given to us over here, and you have to be into their position and fill in the table. Okay, so you can do this exercise on your own and just write what you think, if you would have been in that person's place, what development would mean for you. Now let us take another, I'll explain you another point, that you can see a girl from a rich urban family. Okay, so what she would want, now this is a girl who is from a rich family and a urban family. Okay, now she gets as much freedom as her brother. Now what she is, what are her desires, what are her aspirations, is that she wants freedom as much as her brother gets, and is able to decide what she wants to do. Okay, she is able to pursue her studies abroad. Now for a girl who is from a rich family, that what she would expect is that there shouldn't be a comparison between her brother and herself, and she should be given equal rights as much as her brother is having. She should be given the chance to go and learn abroad. Okay, so this is what we understand from this table. Now again, we can say that a girl, taking for example a girl, okay, what will she need? She will need opportunities. Okay, she would need opportunities, and what else would she need? She would need freedom. Okay, and she would not want to be forced to work. She would not want to be, stayed at home and do all the household works. Okay, similarly for a boy, okay, for a boy, what he would be wanting. Now for a boy, now what happens is families, they put pressure too much on boys, like they tell them that you have to lead the family, you have to get the generations ahead, so you have to put in a lot of work. Okay, so in a way they are again pushing him and pressurizing him towards his freedom. Okay, so he would want freedom again. Okay, okay, so he would want freedom again. And another thing is that a boy from a rich family, his parents would want him to grow his family business. But on the similar side, he does not want to do the business. He wants to move ahead. He wants to pursue some other business and not do his family business. Okay, so for him, he needs more opportunities and he wants to be more explored. Okay, so for him also, he needs more opportunities. Now what we can see over here is that a girl and a boy, they have these opportunities and freedom as common factor, but on the same side, freedom and opportunity for them, both of them is different. Okay, for her, freedom is that she wants to be allowed to go out, and she wants to explore everything that a brother does. But at the same time, he wants freedom to do things on his own and does not want his family to pressurize him. For a girl, opportunity is she wants to go and learn abroad. But for a boy, he wants opportunity to explore himself and start his own business. Okay, so this is just an example that you can consider, that how different people can have different perspective, different aspirations for their own development. Okay, so each one of them seeks different things. Now, as I said, that a girl and a boy, for both of them, there are different opportunities, different freedom. Similarly, for a farmer, he would want dams, and he would want a proper flow of water. So for each individual, if we take now, for example, a doctor, a teacher, a lawyer, for each one of them, different categories of people will have different aspirations and desires about development. Now, in fact, at times, two persons or a group of persons may seek things which are conflicting. As I said, now, if we talk about, a group of people, you and me, if suppose, for example, we are working on a project. Now, while we are working on a project, I would want things to work according to me, and I would lay down points that I feel are better. But at the similar time, you will find there are some things that I shouldn't consider in this. Okay, so that is what creates conflicts. So it is fine, but at times what it means is that at times we as persons or we as groups may seek things that are conflicting, that you may not agree and I may not agree, and that will create conflicts between us. Okay, so it is fine. So what we understand now, we understand that two things are quite clear. Okay, we understood two things that are very much clear. What is the first thing is that different people can have different developmental goals. Okay, so first thing that we learned is that different people can have different developmental goals, and the second thing we learned is that what may be development for one may not be development for the other. Okay, so as I said, for me, development will mean different. For you, development will mean different. For a farmer, development will mean different. For a lawyer, development will mean different. Okay, so we learned is that development and goals can be different, and it is actually different. Okay, so it may even be destructive for the other. Now, our goals, our developmental ideas can be destructive, can be conflicting concept. Okay, so it is absolutely fine, because we will find newer ways to developing. Okay, so moving on to the next topic is income and other goals. Now, how income and other goals can help us in development. Okay, so one common thing what people desire are regular work, better wages, and decent price for their crops or other products that they produce. In other words, they want more income. So people, what they will desire is that one common thing, as I said, what is that one common thing is that people desire at their regular work is that they want better wages, They want a decent price for the crops they produce or any other materials that they produce, okay, or any other products that they produce. So they want a decent price for this. In short, what they desire is that they desire more income. So people seek things like equal treatment, freedom, security and respect of others. People also consider these things like equal treatment. They should be treated equally among their employees and colleagues. They should have freedom as the other colleague is having, security and respect of others, okay. All these are important goals, okay, but in fact in some cases these can be more important than more income. So sometimes what happens is that these material things, these freedom, the equal treatment, these are more important than people getting more income and more consumption, because material goods are not all that you need to live. Now material goods as an income, as in money, is not the only thing you need to live, okay. With that, what else do you need is you need freedom, you need security, you need respect from other peoples, you need equal treatment. Now when you have that, you are able to live your life more easily and more happily, okay. So for us, only income is not important, but we also consider other factors like equal treatment, freedom, security and respect from others. Okay, so money or material things that one can buy with it is one factor on which our life depends. But the quality of our life also depends on non-material things, okay. So as I said, money is important, material things, we can buy material things with money, but at the same time, the quality of our lives we have also matters a lot. Example, the role of our friends, okay, in our life. Now, suppose for example, I have a very nice job, I'm earning lakhs and lakhs of income every month, but I do not have respect, people do not respect me, people don't like my nature, then my boss is very annoying, he treats me very bad. At the same times, I do not have much friends. Because of all these things, I'm very, depressed and I'm very lonely, I'm staying aside, I don't have much friends because I am lonely, people don't like to talk to me, and that's the reason I don't have friends. So, is that money gonna help me? No. If I am earning lakhs and lakhs of income, but I do not have friends with whom I can go out and enjoy my life, where I can have people respect me, if that is not happening, then I think money is of no use, if you don't have the quality of your life, if you don't have a way where you can, enjoy your life, where people will respect you, where everyone will, cheer you up, you have friends besides you, So all these factors are also very important in considering, okay. So similarly, there are many things that are not easily measured. Now you cannot measure how much, the role of one friend of yours is, how much respect what is the value of that respect. You cannot easily measure those things, but they mean a lot to our lives, okay. So even if we cannot measure freedom, even if we cannot measure the roles of a friend, it means a lot to our lives, okay. It adds on more and more value to our lives, okay. For example, let us take into consideration that you got a job offer which is very far, which is not in Mumbai. Suppose for example, you got a job offer which is in say Punjab. Okay, so now what are the factors that you would be considering, okay. So let me just note it. Suppose you got a job offer that is in Punjab, okay. Now in Punjab, they are giving you, say for example, 2 lakhs as your salary, okay. They're giving you 2 lakhs as your salary per month, but at the same time, aside from this, what else would you be considering as a human being is you will be seeing what facilities they have for your family, okay, what facilities they have, your work environment, your work environment, the place where you're going to stay. Okay, so aside from just one thing, that is money, you would want different other factors and even more. Okay, say etc. You would be considering many other factors before you move to Punjab and get this job. So not only income is a factor that you need to consider, but what we consider is we consider the other things that add on a value. Okay, so similarly for development, people look at a mix of goals. Okay, so for us, not only income is one matter, but we look at different things. We mix up different goals. We would consider what our family is expecting. If I move on over there, will my family be taken care of over there, or it is just me who will have to move on there? Okay, it is true that if a woman is engaged in paid work, their dignity in the household and society increases. Now here they have said that, suppose for example a woman is working, so what will happen is her value, her dignity in her family will increase, and she would get more engaged in the paid work. So that is why what we understand here in this part is that income matters a lot, but with income we also consider factors that are non-materials and factors that add on the quality of our lives. Okay, so a safe and secure environment may allow more women to take up a variety of jobs or run a business. Now, as I said, previously as mentioned, that if a woman is getting a job or is getting paid for her work, her dignity in her family and society will increase. Similarly, if she is working in a safe and a secure environment, she will it may be allowed for more women to take up a variety of jobs. Many women will get inspired and will want to take up new jobs and would even want to run businesses. Okay, so hence the developmental goals that people have are not only about better income but also about other important things in life. Okay, so as I said that income is important, but apart from income, aside from income, other things that are important is also considered while we talk about developmental goals. Okay, so that is why, remember this point, the developmental goals that people have are not only about better income but also about other things that matter in their lives. Okay, moving on to the next topic, that is national development. Now, what is national development? National development is the ability of a country or countries to improve the social welfare of the people. Okay, so when the social welfare of the people is increasing, there is a development in our country nationally. Okay, so if we are considering the development of one nation, of one country, or we are considering development of different countries. Okay, now for example, educating the poor. Now national development will not only mean that giving people more income opportunities, but will also mean these factors that also play very important role. Okay, so for example, educating poor people, providing facilities, potable water, transportation, etc. All of this also matters and also is very important. Next is it includes all aspects of life of an individual or a nation. Okay, so when an individual is progressing, is having development, a nation, his contribution towards the nation will help the nation in improvement, in development, in progress. Okay, it includes full growth and expansion of industries. So if the industries are growing, also it will help in the development of a nation. Individuals seek different goals, then their notion of the national development is also likely to be different. Okay, so if individuals have different goals, their notion is a very a crazy idea or very different, unique idea of development of nation is also likely to be different. So again, here it's a matter of perspective. Now for an individual, he or she will have different ideas, to different ways to seek to achieve the goals. Also my idea with your would be totally different. So that makes it unique ideas and it is likely to be different. It is very important to keep in mind that different persons could have different as well as conflicting notions of a country's development. Okay, so again, different people will have different ideas and sometimes the ideas of one person can be conflicting with the idea of another person, but in a way all of these together contributes towards the development of a nation. So this is what means national development. Okay, so moving on to the next topic, that is how to compare different countries or different states. Okay, so you might ask if development can mean different things as to how some countries, how do we tell that a country is developed or a country is developing, okay, or a country is under development, okay. So how do we say that this is possible? How do we consider a country being developed and a country that is under being developed, okay. So before we come to this, let us consider another question, that is, when we compare different things, they could have similarities as well as differences, okay. So if we are comparing something, if I am comparing say one country to another, so few of the factors of a country, of these two countries, would be similar, but at the same time they will have differences, okay. So which aspects do we use to compare? Okay, so what aspects can we use to compare the country A and B? Let us look at an example to understand this. Let us look at an example of students in your class itself. Okay, so there are many students, say for example 50 students in a class. Okay, 50 students in a class. So how do we compare these 50 students? Now each of them would have one unique quality, okay. So if we want to consider, if we want to compare these students, what points can we take to compare these students is we can take their height, okay, we can take their height, we can take the health conditions, we can consider their health, we can consider their talents, okay, we can consider what are their hobbies, interests, okay, we can consider how much studious they are, how much we can consider their score, so that we can know how much studious they are, okay. So these are some of the factors that we can try and consider when we are comparing. Now what happens is, when can we come at a common comparison, is that the criteria we may use depends on the purpose of comparison, okay. So now we can consider all these points while we are comparing, but what is our purpose for comparisons also matters a lot. Okay, so usually we take one or more important characteristic of a person to compare them based on these characteristics, okay. For comparing countries, their income is considered to be one of the most important attributes, okay. So now as in here, when we are comparing the 50 students in a class, we take into consideration different points, but what is our purpose? For example, if I want to select students who are good in sports, I would consider their height, I would consider their health, okay, whether they are fit for the particular sports. But at the same time, if I am looking for students who are very good at a debate competition, I would look at their interest, whether they are actually interested in a debate competition. I would look at their hobbies, I would look at their talents. So I would consider different points, different characteristics, different factors to come at a final conclusion. That is what I mean to say here, is that I would consider these points based on what purpose I am doing this, okay. So similarly, when we are making comparisons between countries, the common factor that we take into consideration is the income, and it is the most important attribute. Now for countries with higher income are developed and than the others with less income, okay. So if a country is having more income, we say that the country is developed than the country which is having a little less income. Okay, so this is based on the understanding that more income means more of the things that human beings need. Okay, so when you have more income, your you need more things, you need, your demands increases. So when your income increases, there are more of the things that you need. Okay, so greater income itself is considered to be one of the most important goals. Also, at the same time, more income is also considered to be an important goal. Now, what is the income of a country? Now, intuitively, the income of a country is the income of all the residents of the country. So, all the people, all the living people in the country, all of them who are earning, who are working and earning money, the total of their income is the income of the countries. Okay, so this gives us the total income of a country. When we calculate the individual income and when we add on all the individuals' income, that is how we get the income of our country. Okay, now we compare the average income, which is the total income of the country divided by its total population. Okay, so the total income of a country will be divided by its population, and that is how we get average income of an individual. Now, the average income is also called as per capita income. So, these are a few terms that you have to remember even when you're studying economics and even apart from economics in your daily life. So, these are a few factors that you these are a few terms, I would say, that you need to remember. Okay, so now in world development reports brought out by the World Bank, this criterion is used in classifying countries. Okay, so this criteria, the per capita income, the calculation how it is done is considered. Okay, so now let us just see a table on page number 9 to understand more about average income. Okay, so now if you see the table on page number 9 in your textbook, okay, so what does this table tell us? It tells us about the average income. So let us just read and understand in detail what it has to say. Okay, so while averages are useful for comparison, they also hide disparities. Now let us take for example, they have given us a table over there, a comparison. They had taken into consideration two countries, country A and B. For the sake of simplicity, we have assumed that they have only 5 citizens each. Okay, so they have just made an assumption. Now, obviously, a country will not have 5 people. It will obviously be more, but here they have just assumed. Okay, this is just an assumption. Okay, so what are they comparing is that country A has different units, different, monthly incomes, and country B has different monthly incomes. So when you add the total of all the 5 citizens, the income of all the 5 citizens, the total of both the countries that you get would be 50,000. Okay, so you will have the total income as 50,000. Okay, and while we equally live happily in both these countries, are both equally developed. Perhaps some of us may like to live in country B if we are assured of being the 5th citizen. Okay, so now what they have said is, as in country A, the first citizen is earning 9,500, the second one is earning 10,500, the next one is with 9,800, fourth one with 10,000, and fifth one with 10,200. Okay, whereas in country B, the first one with 500, second one with 500, third again 500, fourth again 500, and the fifth one with 48,000. So now if you would have been given a chance, to be the 5th citizen of country B, you would have done that easily. So that is what they are trying to say. That if we are assured to be the 5th citizen, but if it is a lottery that all the citizens decide our citizenship number, then perhaps most of us would prefer to live in country A. Now, if we add on the total of all of these and the total of population, when we consider the total of population, we have 5, which gives us average income as 10,000. Okay, so 10,000 being the average income, there is not much difference between country A and country B to consider these. Okay, so that is why they are trying to say in this country people are neither very rich nor extremely poor in country A. On the other hand, most of the citizens in country B are very poor because their income is just 500, and one person, that is the fifth citizen, is very rich, having the 48,000 as his income. Hence, while we use the average income, it is very useful for comparison. It does not tell us how this income is distributed among the people. So that is why when we consider this average income, it doesn't tell us how individual income is taken into consideration. So this was about average income and how the average income is being calculated. Okay, let us now move on to the next topic, that is income and other criteria. Now, when we looked at the individual aspirations and goals of people, we found out that people not only think of better income, but they also think of factors such as, they also think of goals such as security, respect for others, good equal treatment, freedom, etc. All of these factors in their mind. Okay. Similarly, when we think of a nation or a region, we may, besides average income, think of other equally important attributes. Okay, so that is why we understand that if we are considering a nation or a region, besides average income, not only just focusing on average income, there are other factors equally important that we need to consider. Okay, so now we will see two different tables, but we will first understand the smaller table that is on page number 10 of your textbook. Okay, so now when we look at the first table, we have Haryana, Kerala, Bihar with their per capita income as Haryana having 1,62,034, Kerala having 1,55,518, Bihar having 34,168. Okay, so this is the per capita income for 2015-16 in rupees. Now, if we compare, we see that Haryana has the highest per capita income, whereas Bihar is at the very bottom, has the lowest per capita income. Okay, this means that on an average, a person in Haryana earns up to 1,62,000, whereas a person in Bihar earns up to 34,000. Okay, so if per capita income were able to be used as to measure the development, Haryana will be considered as the most developed in comparison with the other three. Okay, and Bihar would not be considered as much as developed as Haryana. So now if we see the second table, this second table shows us the state infant mortality rate per 1,000 live births in 2015-16. Next is the literary rate, and lastly it shows us the net attendance ratio per 100 persons, and that is the secondary stage of age group between age 14 to 15 in the year 2013 and 14. Now, if we look at the numbers, the infant mortality rate, first let us understand what is infant mortality rate. Okay, so infant mortality rate, it indicates the number of children that die before the age of 1 year. Okay, so the children who die before even getting at the age of 1, they are all considered as infant mortality. They are all considered in the calculation of the infant mortality rate. Next is the literary rate. This measures the proportion of literate population. Okay, so this considers how many people are literate, educated. And lastly, the net attendance ratio. It is the total number of children from age group 14 to 15 years of education, like 14 to 15 years of education they have considered. They have completed that percent. Okay, so this is how these two tables are showing us a comparison. Now what Haryana is having infant mortality rate, highest infant mortality rate is that of Bihar. Kerala has 12 and Haryana has 36. Okay, so Kerala has the least infant mortality rate, whereas talking about the income, talking about the per capita income, Kerala was the second highest, having 155,518. Okay, so even though the infant mortality rate is the lowest, it has a bit good high per capita income. But Haryana on the same side had very good per capita income, but has evenly the infant mortality rate as 36, and the people who are educated over there, okay, is 82%, that is in 2011. Okay, so again, if we look at the first column in the table, it shows that Kerala, out of thousands, okay, out of thousands, 12 died before they were even completing the first year of their age. But in Haryana, the proportion of children dying within 1 year of birth was 36, which is 2 times that of Kerala, 2 or more times that of Kerala. On the other hand, the per capita income of Haryana is more than that of Kerala. Okay, so this is how the per capita income is. You know how the comparison is made between the per capita income and between the other factors that are considered while calculating the income and while calculating the goals for development. Not missing out on the last column, that is the net attendance ratio of people who are not attending schools. Okay, so the last column in the table shows half of the age children, that is almost 14 to 15 years of age in Bihar, are not attending school beyond standard 8, beyond class 8. So over there, if people are not allowing their children to get more educated, it will again disturb the economy, again it will disturb the development of the nation. If people are not getting educated, they will not understand about the country and they will not be able to contribute towards the development of the nation, and that is why our country won't be increasing, won't be rising towards the higher levels. Okay, so these are the other factors that we can take into consideration while we are calculating the income development of a nation. Okay, moving on to the next topic, that is public facilities. Okay, so how is it that the average person, okay, average person in Haryana, now you still have to keep in mind the table that we learned, that we saw in your textbooks. So make sure that you have your textbooks in front of you while we do these parts. Okay, so now the average person, how is it possible, how is it that the average person in Haryana has more income than the average person in Kerala, but it lags behind in other crucial areas. Okay, so we saw that the average income of Haryana was far greater than that of Kerala, but how is that other factors, that the infant mortality rate, all of these areas are very crucial, are very, behind, lags behind in all of these parts. Okay, so the reason here is that money in your pocket cannot buy all the goods and services that you may need to live well. Now, money cannot buy you everything that you want to live well. Okay, this is why we have to understand this, that not only income, not only how much you earn is important, but other factors, other areas also need to be considered. So income itself is not a complete adequate indicator of material goods and services that citizens are able to use. So income is not the only thing that we can show, we can indicate that all the material things and the goods and services that we have and we are using is possible only because of income. Obviously, we have other factors that also need to be considered. Okay, so let us take an example over here. Normally, your money cannot buy you a pollution-free environment. Okay. Now, if you have a lot of money and it is just in one place in your room and you want to spend it, it is not possible that you can go in a shop and tell them, ki I want a pollution-free environment. No, it's not possible. You cannot buy a pollution-free environment, okay? Or ensure that you get unadulterated medicines unless you can afford to shift to a community that already has all of these things, okay? So, what happens when is this possible is that when you can get unadulterated medicines is when you already reach to that community. But when you are smaller in incomes, it is not possible for you to go and demand the ones that the higher communities are getting. Okay, so money may not always be able to protect you from infectious diseases unless the whole of your community take preventive steps. Now, if you want to fight towards a disease, it's not possible that only with money you can do it. But you also have to take into consideration other measures, other things that can prevent you from having that diseases, other measures that can help you not to cause that disease again. Okay, actually for many of the important things in the life, the best way, also the cheapest way is to provide these goods and services collectively. Okay, so all the goods and services that is available to us, we have to provide them very collectively and very understandingly, because that will help us to live our lives the best way. Okay, so Kerala has a low infant mortality rate because it has adequate provisions of basic health and educational facilities. Okay, so we saw in the table that Haryana had 36 infant mortality rate and Kerala had 12. Now, why that was possible? Because Kerala has taken into consideration some adequate provisions of basic health and educational facilities that people know, people are engaged into that, and because of that the infant mortality rate over there is low. Similarly, in some states the public distribution system, that is the PDS, functions pretty well. Okay, so there are in some states that the public distribution system, they work pretty well. Okay, so now for considering, we don't only have to focus on the income factor, but we also have to take into consideration the growth, the deaths of how people are dying. We have to take into consideration the education, we have to take into consideration the health of the people. Okay, so there are many factors apart from just health. We have to focus on other collective measures. Okay, so therefore the health and nutritional status of people of such states is certainly likely to be better. So states where the PSD, that is the public distribution system, is working pretty well, functions pretty well. States where people are taking into consideration the education system, the nutritional health system, the health education, all of these factors, these states are on an urge of, understanding things better and, certainly likely to get even better. Okay, so the next part that is given to you on page number 13 is Human Development Report. Okay, so the human development is the index. It is an index, is a statistic composite index of life expectancy, education and per capita income indicators, which are used to rank countries in 4 tiers of human development. Okay, so the life expectancy, the education, the per capita income, all of these are considered while we check in the human development index. Okay, so once it is realized that even though the level of income is important, yet it is an inadequate measure of the level of development, we begin to think of other criterion. We take into consideration other criterion. Okay, there could be a long list of such criterion, but then it would not be so useful. Okay, so when we consider this, we would have a long list, but at the same time, sometimes these criterion would not be useful to us to consider calculation of our income. So what we need is a small number of most of the important things. Okay, so health and education indicators indicates that such as one we use to compare the Kerala and Haryana are among one of them, okay. So how the factors that we took to consider that of Kerala and Haryana are one of them, that is the infant mortality rate and the per capita income. Now over the past decades or so, health and education indicators have come to be widely used along with income as a measure of development, okay. So health and education has also been considered while we want to calculate the means, the measures of development. Now for instance, Human Development Report published by the UNDP compares countries based on the education levels of people's, their health status and their per capita income, okay. So what they are comparing is the education level of the people, their health status and also their per capita income. It would be interesting to look at certain relevant data regarding India and its neighbors from the Human Development Report 2019, okay. So now we will look at a table which will share us some of the data. So we just have to look at it as an example. There is no big solutions in that. A few concepts to be explained and understood about what the table is giving us, what information the table is giving us. So now as you can see the table over here, this is the data regarding India and its neighbors in 2015, okay. So here you can see the first column gives us the different countries, the second column gives us the gross national income, the third column gives us life expectancy at birth, the fourth column gives us the mean years of schooling of people aged from 25 and above, and the last column gives us the HDI rank in the world. Okay, so now if you see for India, the gross national income was 5,663, the life expectancy was 68.3, the mean was 6.3, and the HDI rank that we got in the world in 2016 was 131. So through this table, what we can do is we can just compare India with all the other nations, that is Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Pakistan, Nepal and Bangladesh. Okay, so now what is HDI? Okay, HDI stands for Human Development Index, okay, and HDI ranks in the above table are of 188 countries, okay. So now we don't have all of them, but we have a few countries through which we can compare and understand about India, okay. Where do we stand? So, many improvements have been suggested while calculating the HDI and many new components have been added to the Human Development Report. But by prefixing the human development, okay, it has made it very clear that what is more important in development is what is happening to the citizens of the country. Okay, so whatever thing is happening to the citizens of the country will be shown in the development of the country, and that is why whatever happens to the citizens is also very important factors that we need to consider. Okay, so it is the people, it is their health, their well-being, all of these is the important factors that we need to consider while we make the human development report. Okay, so understanding a few terms, that is life expectancy. Now what is life expectancy? It is the estimate of average number of additional years that a person of a given age can expect to live. Okay, so it is the additional years that a person of a given age is expected to live. Okay, the estimate in effect projects the age specific mortality, that is the deaths rates of for a given period over the entire lifetime of the population born or alive during that time. Okay, so it is considered, the estimate effect projects the age specific to mortality and to the alive people. Okay, the next that we are going to see is the per capita income or the average income. Okay, so this measures the average income earned per person in a specific area in a specified year. Okay, it is calculated by dividing the area's total income by its total population, and as we had seen previously. Okay, so per capita income is national income divided by the population size. So this is what we learn about life expectancy and the per capita income. Okay, so moving on to the last topic in your chapter, in this chapter, is sustainability of development. Okay, so far what we learned was all about development, how income matters, how other factors need to be considered. So now let us learn a bit more how we can sustain the development, that is sustainability of development. Okay, so sustainable development is development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Okay, so without compromising the needs of the future generation, we are fulfilling the present generation needs. Okay, so sustainable development is the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their own needs. Okay, so we would certainly like this level of development to go up further. Okay, so all the development that we did, we would want it to go up further, or we would even want it at least to be maintained for a future generations. Okay, so this is obviously desirable. Anyone, if we go a level up, now for example, if you're playing a game, okay, so if you play a game, you reached a level. So now what is your next goal is that either to maintain that level 20 or to move on the level 21. So similarly here in economics, what is our goal is that either we stay, the level of development either stays maintained on the same level or we further move up. Okay, so this is obviously that we will desire. Now groundwater is an example of renewable resources. Here we will talk about the groundwater, that is an example of renewable resources. We can renew those resources with other factors we're taking into consideration. Now these resources, these are replenished by the nature, as in case of crops and plants. Okay, so these resources, they are taken into considerations. These are replenished by the nature in case of crops and plants. Okay, however, even these resources may be overused. Even if we overuse these resources, we are somewhere able to renew these resources, as it is a renewable source of energy. Okay, talking about the non-renewable resources, these are which are exhausted after years of use. Okay, so they come to an end after years of use. Okay, so consequences on environmental degradation do not respect national or state boundaries. This issue is no longer rain or nation specific. Okay, so what happens is, and the consequences, the degradation, all these causes damage to the environment. Now because of this, the boundaries gets disturbed and we are no longer a nation specific country. Okay, our future is linked together. We are all linked together. We human beings, the nature, it is all a connection. Okay, sustainability of development is comparatively a new area of knowledge. Now this is something new that is to come into consideration. It is okay. It is a new area of knowledge in which scientists, economists, philosopher and other social scientists are working together. Okay, so the scientists, the economists, the social scientists, the philosopher, all of these are working together for sustainable development, for sustainability of development. So as individuals, what you and we need to do is we need to ask where we want to go, what we wish to become and what our goals are, and we need to start working on them. Okay, but with this, the argue for sustainable development will not stop. Okay, the debate on development between the countries will still go on and it will still continue. Okay, so with this we come to an end to this chapter. What we did in this chapter is we learned about different income criterias. We learned about how we can compare the nation and other countries, how we can compare the states. We learned about what are the important factors that need to be considered, and we also learned about how we can maintain the sustainability of development. Okay. Now, my request to you here is make sure that you refer to these notes, but at the same time, you read your textbook thoroughly so that you are able to write the answers in detail. Okay, so that's it in this lesson.